Hi everyone, it's Anna Wheaton here from Nudge Nudge Ink. Today I'm bringing you one of our techniques that we've done recently in class, which is black magic. This is one of the cards that we made using the technique, and it comes together by putting white on a black background and then colouring the white. And in today's video, we'll be creating the white background using Versamark and white embossing powder. And I'll be bringing you another video with another way of doing it as well. So for this one, we use Celebrate Sunflowers. So this beautiful big sunflower and its leaves are the main focal point of the card. So the first thing we're going to do is grab a piece of white cardstock. You can then use your embossing buddy. We now sell this embossing buddy as part of a kit with a tray and a brush as well. So it's great just to get any fingerprints and any sticky spots off your cardstock. Then we're going to take this main image from the sunflower. Now I'll give you a little tip here. See how I have cut the corner off this? There's a reason for that. Here is my stamp, which is rather large, and here is my die. Now it's not a symmetrical stamp, so it takes a while to work out how that die matches. So here is my hint. I'm going to cheat for just a sec. What you want to do first to set it up is to get your stamp, put it upside down, and then get your die and work out where it belongs on it. So it takes a little while of going round and round, but eventually you will find that you get a match. Then what you want to do is mark your stamp. So I've actually got a mark. Hang on, let me put that back. What I've done is I've marked the stamp here. So you can see there's a black dot. And then in the corresponding place on your die, you want to put a mark there as well. Now you can just mark that with a Texta, Nico, Sharpie, but it will wear off. So what I've done is put a little tiny piece of washi that's stuck there, and then I've marked that so it's there for good until the washi wears out. So then what we do is when we stamp, we're going to line up that little mark with that so that we know how to align the die. So I'll show you how that goes. Flip this over, grab your Versamark and pat it onto your stamp. That's a great way to apply your ink to a stamp that is rather large. Make sure you get your good coverage. There's my mark. I really need to clean this block. It's quite grubby. Stamp that down. Then I want to apply my white embossing powder to this. So I always keep my embossing powders in a container like this. I transfer them out of their container and I mark each one. So this is white embossing powder. All I do is slide it in. Now I've got a few bits that have stuck there. It doesn't really matter because they're going to be cut off anyway, but you could just rub them away. And then we're going to heat set this. So this is just powder. If I touch it, it will rub off. So I'm going to grab my heat gun, and our heat gun has a slide switch, which can be a little bit tricky for some people to operate. So if you can't slide it easily, you just want to sort of dig your thumb into it, the front or the back of it. It has two settings, so I'm just going to go all the way to the hottest setting and heat. Takes a little while to warm up. So that's now set. What's happened is it's all turned shiny and a little bit clearer in the white instead of powdery. And you just want to get it on a bit of an angle and check that all those tips have set. Still a little bit warm. Now remember, I lined up the dot on my stamp with that corner. And you can imagine if I was moving that round, I would have forgotten where that point was. So then I can just line up my die with the mark, okay? Much quicker. So it's worth setting that up from the start. I'm going to cut that out on my stamp cut and emboss machine, and I'll end up with this. All right, now it's colouring time. So I want to colour my my sunflower. Now it can be in sunflower colours. Seen beautiful examples of this coloured in all sorts of other colours. So you can always do something different. We're going to use our Stampin' blends. These are our alcohol markers. Now the reason they work instead of our Stampin' Right markers is because they are alcohol based. So they are going to adhere or set onto the shiny surface, just like you use them to colour your embellishments. You can use them to colour your ribbon. Okay, so I've done the middle soft suede, and then we're just going to work around. You can use, the good thing about colouring with this too, this is dark pumpkin pie. Colouring on the black is it's very forgiving. It doesn't matter if you go over the edges. It will still, that part won't show. So see, I'm actually colouring on some of the black. Now for speeding it up, I'm just going to go rather quickly across the black, but I'll bring that closer. You can see that that really makes no difference. When you use your Stampin' blends on paper, as the name suggests, they blend beautifully. So you can keep going over to get darker shades and so on. You won't find that that's the case when you are blending on the heat set embossing powder. And in fact, some colours almost you can push around. But what you can do is you can layer. So there you go, I've added a fair bit of yellow there. Still got some white showing. I'm going to come back in now with some light pumpkin pie. And you'll find that some colours will show up really well. Particularly, you'll find the darker colours are really good for this technique because they really do sort of pop. Okay, I'm going to come in with a bit of dark pumpkin pie. So you can see I'm sort of building up. It's not blending. I can go over some of the yellow. And then the last thing I'm going to do is come in with some Poppy Parade. So I'm just going to pick out some of the tips. Here's a tip. Pick out some tips. So I'll just add, it's almost like your highlights in your hair. A little bit here and there. All right. So there you have it, compared to that one. I'm filming in the very early morning sun. So it was almost too bright before. Here are my leaves that I've already stamped and cut. I'm just going to switch. Now let me show you. I've just gone down the middle here with dark, light shaded spruce. Let me, so you can see I can get a bit of two-tone there. I've got light down the middle and then adding the dark. What you will find though, I'll show you here, just say I put some light granny apple green here. If I was to then go over it with the dark shaded spruce, it just moves it round and sort of wipes it out. So there's no sort of blending. It's just overtaking or layering. So it's up to you whether you decide to leave a bit of white showing, because that can be quite effective. And so you can see there on that one, I haven't gone over the middle of the lighter shade of spruce, so that gives it a little bit of contrast. All right, so we've got my sunflower and my leaves. Then, thought I lost a leaf for a second then. Okay, then we want to put this together. We're going to use the bow punch. I really like this punch because it's got two leaves and they're quite different in size and style. So to use our punches, if you're not familiar with them, if you turn them upside down, you can see where you're punching, which is particularly useful if you're punching around an image, for example. So there, I just want one of each, two different colors. And then I've already assembled my card base. So this is one of our DSPs. I was going to grab it, but I can't grab it. One of the ones in our current mini. This is retiring, but it's full of all these different gingham patterns. So I'm going to flip this over to assemble it. And I will add a few dimensionals to the back of it. And then I want my leaves to be poking out. I always love to put them in a little pair like that, crossing over. So let's grab some glue dots for that. Actually, I'm going to swap those over. Oh no, that's right. I just want that little middle bit that I created to show. And then tuck those behind my flower. Alrighty, so that's going to sit there. Let's add a little bit more dimension to it. And then we're going to add the string. So on this sample, I have used some silver, which I've actually distressed a bit. I've pulled out the core of it and pulled it apart to give it a little bit of texture and make it a little bit rougher. But what I'm going to use this time is a bit of linen thread. So I'll show you a good way to have that curling in behind. And this is really interesting too in class when you have people attach thread like this, that some of them, it's almost like fingerprints. People have very different end results with the way they do it. Some are very, just very natural with what they do. So what you do is you just form your loops. So instead of trying to hang on to everything and glue things down, you just loop it in behind like that and stick it to the dimensionals. Now if you're using something thick, so for example that silver thread is thicker than this linen, you may want to also then add a few more dimensionals because you've sort of cancelled out the effect of those. So let's just add a few more. Anyway, I can put one on there to keep it under control. Now I've opened a pack of dimensionals here and I haven't done the setup. I always colour them with some highlighter pen, which is great because it shows whether you've peeled off the back or not. Okay, so let's put that in place with its string. And then I've got these to tuck in behind. The other thing I have, I'm speaking too soon, I have a little piece of ribbon, which is so little, I can't find it. Might have to keep going without it. Should have brought the whole roll around. Okay, that's all right. Okay, with these pieces going in behind, I always tuck them in afterwards because then you've got a bit of a sense of where they might fit. So just say I wanted it there and it won't go in far enough. Oh, yes, it will. I can always trim off a little bit and then stick it in, okay? But that's working fine. So I'll add a little bit of Tombow to this. And then I'm going to add this one on top. I found my piece of ribbon. So I can just slide this one in as well. Tiny little drops of Tombow. I'm not even squeezing my Tombow now. I'm just touching it on there to get those little pieces, little tiny dots. Slide that, ooh, under the, like so. And then I have a little piece of our beautiful white organdy ribbon. I did have black. We used to have a black, which I really liked, but I ran out of that by using it for class. So what I'm going to do is put the middle of this ribbon onto a glue dot and then fold it in half. So that way it is glue dotted shut. Then put the fold on a glue dot and pull it off. And then I can slide that in. I'm going to just add it to that little arrangement there. Perfect. And then grab my bone folder, roll that over, and then I'm going to add this to the front. I probably could have done that first so that I don't have bumps to run my seal over, but it'll work just fine. I've got a bit of white embossing powder. Hang on, I just need to get it lined up better. Okay, then I have it inside already. So whenever you have your stamp set, have a look at the other images that are there as well. So I've just gone with this little image and I've just done a simple bit of stamping inside. You could do similar on your envelope. So there we have it with its inside. There we have the other one with the silver. And I'll give you a little look at another example. This is another one that we made in class. This is using Bottled Happiness, which is the one that has the bottle and then the two stamps that mesh together here. So we did this on the Stamparatus. Now just show you, see the bottle? You can see there that I've managed to layer the colour. So while I can't blend, this side of the bottle is a bit darker than this side so that it looks shaded. So you can shade rather than layer, all right? And then you can choose any colours you like for the rest of it. And the brighter the colour, obviously the more that it pops, and then I've chosen to use a really bright poppy background. And then I just had a play too with Pretty Medallion, and there's how that turns out. I'm going to try this again with a bit more of an ombre effect across the designs. But you can see that that pops really, oh look, I can line it up. Pops really well on the black. So there you have it, that's Black Magic. I hope that's given you some inspiration and some ideas as to how it works. And if you like the video, please give it a thumbs up and please subscribe. pass it on to your friends. I'd really appreciate you spreading the word, and my details are in the description. Thank you. Bye.